True crime stories have long been a source of fascination for the public, and when these stories are adapted into films, they often take on a life of their own. One such case is The Alphabet Killer, a psychological crime thriller that claims to be inspired by real events. This article explores the true story behind the film, the infamous double initial murders, and the creative liberties taken in the cinematic adaptation. Between 1971 and 1973, 3 young girls were murdered in Rochester, New York, in a disturbing pattern that earned the case its ominous nickname. Each of the victims had matching initials in their first and last names, and their bodies were found in locations that started with the same letter. The victims were Carmen Colon, disappeared on November 16, 1971. Body found in Churchville, New York. Wanda Volkovich, disappeared on April 2, 1973. Body found in Webster, New York. Michelle Manza, disappeared on November 26, 1973. Body found in Macedon, New York. Each girl was abducted, sexually assaulted, and strangled before being dumped in rural areas near Rochester. The pattern of matching initials led investigators to believe the killer had a unique fixation, making the case even more puzzling. Law enforcement launched an extensive investigation, but no definitive suspect was identified. Several theories emerged, with multiple suspects considered over the years. Carmen Colon's uncle, Miguel, was an early suspect due to his alleged history of violence and the fact that he left the country after the murder. However, no conclusive evidence linked him to the crime. A particularly chilling suspect was Kenneth Bianchi, later known as one of the Hillside Stranglers. He lived in Rochester at the time of the murders and worked as an ice cream vendor, placing him in proximity to children. However, no direct evidence tied him to the double initial murders. A more recent suspect, Joseph Naso, was arrested in 2011 for a series of murders in California that also involved victims with matching initials. Although his crimes bore similarities to the Rochester murders, no solid proof has emerged linking him to the New York case. Despite decades of investigation, the double initial murders remain unsolved, adding to their mystery and horror. Directed by Rob Schmidt and starring Eliza Dushku, Carrie Elwes, and Timothy Hutton, The Alphabet Killer takes inspiration from the real case, but diverges significantly in terms of plot, characters, and themes. The film follows Megan Page, a detective obsessed with solving the murders of young girls with matching initials. As she delves deeper into the case, she begins experiencing psychological breakdowns, hallucinations, and paranoia. Unlike in reality, the film provides a clear killer, wrapping up the case in a way that real life never did. The detective's breakdown, Megan Page's psychological deterioration in the film, is purely fictional. While investigators were undoubtedly frustrated and haunted by the real case, no known officers experienced such dramatic mental health crises. The supernatural elements. The film introduces ghostly visions and hallucinations, adding a psychological horror twist absent from the real-life events. The killer's identity. The movie invents a resolution, while the real case remains unsolved. This narrative choice was likely made to provide closure for the audience. The setting and time period. While the real case occurred in the early 1970s, the film takes place in a modern setting, updating investigative techniques and technology. Public reaction and lasting impact. Both the real case and the movie have left an indelible mark on true crime culture. The double initial murders continue to be a subject of discussion in books, documentaries, and crime podcasts, keeping the mystery alive. Meanwhile, The Alphabet Killer serves as an example of how real-life horror stories are often modified for dramatic effect in Hollywood. Conclusion: The Alphabet Killer film may have been inspired by true events, but it strays significantly from reality in favor of psychological drama and supernatural elements. The real-life double initial murders, on the other hand, remain one of the most perplexing unsolved cases in American criminal history. Despite advancements in forensic science, the killer has never been caught, leaving the case open and haunting for investigators and the victims' families. Whether through cinema or continued real-world investigations, the story of the Alphabet Killer endures, ensuring that the memories of Carmen, Wanda, and Michelle are never forgotten.